Hey, what's going on, my friend? Recently, I was having a conversation with somebody who's dating and was having some issues in their relationship. And so they said, I don't know what to do. I really love and care for this person, but then there's these other things in the relationship that I don't think are healthy, and I don't know if I should put up with those or not. And so they started kind of recounting to me some of what they deal with behavior-wise in the relationship. And so they said, I really love them, but oftentimes I feel like I take a second place to their friends and their hobbies when they have a better option. I feel like I'm kind of second place. They kind of have a bit of an anger issue, and so never been abusive physically or anything like that, but will often get angry, and when they do, they'll cuss at me, sometimes call me names. Other times they'll threaten to end the relationship when they get really upset. And then there's other times where it's like the opposite. They just get quiet and I ask what's wrong. They say nothing's wrong, but they're really withdrawn, often for days at a time. They don't really care about faith a whole lot, which is important to me. And so I just really don't know what to do in the relationship. And so I said, why don't you just end it? And they said, because I love them. And you don't just throw away love, right? We can work on, every relationship has issues. We can work on these problems and those kind of things, right? Now, the problem this person was having, and that lots of singles are having in relationship, is they're evaluating the relationship with the wrong standards and criteria. Because if I ask this person, hey, what are the things that you would want to see in a future spouse? Here's what they tell me. Number one, I want them to be a person of faith. Number two, I want them to be committed to me and the relationship, and I can trust them in that. Number three, I think I want them to be kind of kind and sincere. Even when they're upset, I want them to have the ability to resolve conflict in a healthy way, not in some toxic way. And so what happens is, if I were to come to them and say, hey, listen, I think I have the perfect person for you. I want to set you up with this person. Now, listen, they're your type. I know you're going to be attracted to them. You guys are going to have great chemistry, have a ton of fun together. There are some other issues you might want to be aware of, but I don't think they're that big of a deal. Like, they get a little bit angry, and when they do, they kind of cuss and that kind of stuff. And so it's not always good, but they're usually pretty quick to forgive the next day and apologize when they're wrong. They don't really care about faith a whole lot. They're not real big family people or anything like that. They've got some commitment and character issues, but I think you're really going to like them and have a lot of fun. That person would be like, absolutely not. That's not what I'm looking for. And what's happening is there's a lot of singles that are evaluating their relationships based on their attachment to the other person. That is how they emotionally feel towards the other person, which is then clouding their judgment about who this person really is and about the things that they may value in the relationship. And so too many singles are getting into relationships without boundaries, getting attached too quickly emotionally, that then clouds their judgment about who the person is. So if we're not to evaluate our relationships by how we feel, are we loving towards them? Do we love them? How should we judge a relationship? But that's easy, with your values. Listen, if somebody cannot pass your values test in a relationship, you should not be dating them, period. You should evaluate the relationship based on that person's inner set of values. And do those values line up with the things that you value most in the relationship? And if they don't, then you should be stepping back from the relationship, guarding your heart, and not get emotionally involved with somebody who doesn't line up with you when it comes to values. Listen, what you do in a relationship is you come in with some boundaries. And if bad behavior begins to show up in the relationship, you enforce your boundaries. And if this person steps over your boundaries, does not respect your no, then you step back from that relationship, because that's not a good relationship for you. The best way to assure that you have a good relationship is to require that that person be good. Let me play that back so you don't have to rewind it. The best way to assure that you have a good relationship is that you require that person to be good. If their behavior is not lining up with your values, you step away from the relationship. Healthy relationships are based on values first, attachment, emotions, feelings second. The values actually help protect and preserve the love in the relationship. So what should you do? What's your takeaway? Listen, if you're in a relationship right now, you need to sit down, write down, think about your values. If you've never determined what your top values are, what your non-negotiables are in a potential future spouse, you need to make a list of those things. And listen, them being fine should not be in your top 5. It's 6 or lower, okay? We're talking about real inner core values, character values, right? You need to make that list. And if you're in a relationship, I want you to turn around, remove your feelings for a minute, and evaluate the relationship solely on your values, not on how you feel. If you're not in a relationship, next time you get in a relationship, I want you to first begin to evaluate the quality of that relationship based on values, not on how you're feeling for that person, because our feelings will cloud our judgment. So in a relationship, the way we evaluate it is values first. I'm not saying feelings of love and love are not important. I'm saying they are secondary to what is most important, which is values. So values first, feelings and attachment second. That's how you evaluate your relationship to make sure that you're not getting caught in a relationship that is toxic, unhealthy, that doesn't line up with values, but you now love them, and so you don't know how to get out of it. Values first, attachment second. Dumb dating ideas are when we evaluate our relationship based on how we feel or how we love the other person. That's a dumb idea. Values first, attachment second.